The fuck going on with y'all, man? In this guide, I'm going to show you the best rogue build to use to level with in Diablo 4, which is Twisting Blades. The gameplay you're watching right now is the rogue that I'm currently playing, and it's about to hit level 50, killing white mobs, killing elites, and killing bosses extremely easily. As you can see, it is a build with very high mobility, which helps a lot with being in the right spots to do damage and to dodge damage. Now with that being said, I don't want to keep y'all waiting, so let's get into the build guide. First things first, the skill tree. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you guys, so I mapped out what skill points to get at every single level. And on the bottom here is what your skill bar will look like once you get all your active skills. With this whole build, I was able to breeze through the campaign and on the way to level 50. Now let me go ahead and explain the active skills and how to use them. The basic skill we use for this build is Puncture. Puncture's main role is to apply Vulnerable, which is one of the best damage stats in the game. Our core skill is obviously Twisting Blades, and is our main damage dealer throughout the leveling process. The most important thing that you need to know about Twisting Blades is that it deals the most damage on the second part of the attack, when the daggers return to your character. And to help us position ourselves to make it easier for those daggers to land, we will be using two mobility skills, Dash and Shadow Step. These can also be used to dodge dangerous situations and boss mechanics. The next two skills we will be getting are our defensive abilities. Dark Shroud is simply a damage reduction buff that you must upkeep at all times, and Poison Trap knocks enemies down, including elites, but not bosses, which gives you the time to kill them without having a chance to deal any damage to you. It also helps with single target damage, which this build isn't great at. Now let's say you run into an elite pack. This is the combo that I would use. Press Dark Shroud for the damage reduction buff, initiate with Shadow Step on the elite to stun it, drop a Poison Trap to knock it down, hit it with a couple punctures to apply Vulnerable, and then stab it to hell with Twisting Blades. It'll be dead in seconds. Next up, I'm going to talk about Renown and the Rogue Specialization we use for this build. If you're able to get Renown 3 in all regions, then you will get an extra 10 skill points to use. We use these skill points to basically just make the build stronger than it already was. And to get Renown 3 in all regions, here's how you do it. Do the campaign, get all the waypoints, do all the strongholds, and then get all the altars of Lilith. All 160 of them. I know it sounds like a lot, but honestly, it shouldn't take you more than a day. And I mean, if you really think about it, it's just running around and clicking on stuff anyway. You know what I'm saying? Now, the rogue specialization we use for this build is none other than Inner Sight. You will experience energy resource problems with this build. I mean, with this game in general. And Inner Sight lets you spam Twisting Blades without a cost. Now, this helps especially for bosses because they become the only marked enemy. Now, to help you farm Renown 3, you will have to use an interactive map. I currently have mine marked with waypoints, strongholds, and altars, but if you wanted to, you can also mark things like dungeons, side quests, and even world bosses. The interactive map is an extremely helpful tool that will make your Diablo 4 experience feel much smoother, and I highly recommend using it. Link down below. Alright, now let's talk about gear. Honestly, for the leveling portion of Diablo 4, there is one method for gear that will work just fine, and that is green is good. When you're comparing items and there's more green than red, then just put it on. The other reason for this is because your leveling gear will be quickly replaced with gear you obtain from higher difficulties because they are significantly better. But if you're a person like me who cares about stats, even while leveling, then I have listed every single piece of gear with stats to prioritize. For our main weapon, we want to use one-handed daggers with the highest DPS to boost our Twisting Blades damage. For our range weapon, we want to use a crossbow because it gives a boost to vulnerable damage. But don't worry about the DPS for the crossbow though, because it's just a stat stick at the end of the day. For salvaging items at the blacksmith, just salvage everything. However, if you pick up a legendary with a nice aspect that you want to use in the future, then put it in your stash. But for the most part, just salvage. I do want to mention though, later parts in the game, you will have to sell items to the vendor because gold does become just as important as materials for imprinting aspects and whatnot. The Codex of Power is where you can imprint and extract legendary aspects. These aspects can either be obtained through extracting legendary items or from completing certain dungeons. For this build, we are only concerned with one aspect: blade dancers. This aspect makes it so once your twisting blades return to you, they don't disappear. Instead, they orbit around you for a short amount of time. What this does is it basically doubles your damage because your twisting blades are now hitting more than once, and it makes it easier to kill packs of mobs surrounding you. To obtain this legendary aspect, you must complete the Jalal's Vigil Dungeon in the Skos Glen region. I would suggest getting this as soon as the campaign gives you a legendary amulet called Vigo's Protecting Amulet. Every class gets it. You'll get it around level 16, and it is a very solid amulet to use throughout the whole leveling process. As soon as you pick this up, go straight to Jalal's Vigil, complete it, imprint the aspect on the amulet, and watch how your twisting blade build gets stronger and smoother all at once. Alright, now that we know what skills to get, what specialization to use, and what gear to put on, let's go into how to go from level 1 to 50. Here we go. From levels 1 through 30, just do the campaign. You will find yourself under leveled at some point, but the campaign is pretty easy to do, so it really shouldn't matter. And after that, it's time to explore and farm Renown from levels 30 to 40. Just like I mentioned in one of the previous slides, you do this by grabbing all the waypoints, doing all the strongholds, and getting all the altars of Lilith. I know that it may sound like a chore, but remember that you only have to do this on one of your characters because it makes all your other characters inherently stronger. Then from levels 40 to 50, you start doing Tree of Whisper objectives, which will be labeled throughout the map once you've unlocked this part of the game. This will not only give you good XP, but you'll also probably end up doing some dungeons that you haven't completed yet, and get some decent items before heading into World Tier 3. Speaking of World Tier, stay in World Tier 1. The only time I found myself doing World Tier 2 is completing a capstone dungeon that was part of a quest to unlock World Tier 3. Besides that, just stay in World Tier 1 because the benefits of World Tier 2 are simply not worth it, considering the difficulty. Tips and tricks. Here are a few little extra pieces of information just in case you need them. If you're the type of person who doesn't care about leveling as fast as possible and just wants to explore, then I suggest you hold off on your exploration until you obtain your mount, which is acquired through a quest called Donan's Favor at the beginning of Act 4. Any exploration before getting your mount will feel extremely slow, so just wait till you get it. Next, level up your potion. Once you reach certain levels, your potion icon will have an up arrow appear near it. Once you see this icon, go to the nearest alchemist and upgrade your potion there. And also be sure to pick up any and all herbs that you come across because these herbs are needed for the upgrade and to make elixirs in the later parts of the game. Speaking of elixirs, they aren't really too important for the leveling process, but if you happen to pick up any, just use them, because you can always make more later. Last thing I want to mention is to save gold and materials. This is very important. Do not spend any gold or materials during the leveling process. You will be using these gold and materials primarily after level 50, once you start doing World 3 content and getting the gear that is worth using it for. And there you have it. The best rogue leveling guide from levels 1 to 50. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully some of the things that I mentioned will help you have a smooth leveling experience in Diablo 4. I plan to make leveling guides for all the other classes as well, with Sorcerer being the next, and I also plan to make a best endgame build for each class, along with other helpful Diablo 4 videos. So if you're interested in anything Diablo 4, don't forget to subscribe. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and make sure to stay a while and listen. Peace out.